Welcome
to the Pritchard pub this evening.
Tonight's special, very, very special guest is none other than Aaron from Immortal Rising Comics. Again,
what up?
He's been a guest.
Thanks.
If you haven't seen the first episode, be sure to do that. He's an awesome guest. Glad to have you back.
It's just my voice. That's what it all. That's all it is.
And this is Rolo.
Yes, he wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
What's up, little puppy?
Yeah, you good boy.
You can see some of the inspiration for our spirit animals. We're not here to talk about. Yeah, we're not here to talk about the spirit animals over here. But you got another issue of Immortal Rising coming out, right?
I do. It's out right now. So it's pretty damn cool, man. I don't know. There's not a lot of indie books that go to even the second issue. So thankfully, I've got the third issue already underway. So it'll be a good time. And this one, we expand on the story from the original. It's a lot of introduction to the setting and all the characters and everything. So in the second one, get to have spend a little bit more time, exploring their personalities. And also the conflict between each one of them, right? Like they're all different. They're all, different, backgrounds, classes, all that kind of stuff. So they've got to get over, each other and as well as trying to get past all the monsters, fighting them. So pretty fucking cool.
Oh, yeah. Nice, diverse group that balances each other out with camaraderie, friendship, and magic.
Yes, it's very woke. No,
completely woke. Yes.
Yeah, it's diverse. It's a lot of equity. No, I'm just
are the monsters the woke ones?
Yeah. No, the monsters are the diversity. There's all this diversity in fantasy that is completely overlooked in favor of modern.
Well, I do have an Arab in the party named Muhammad, so there you go.
There you go. Yeah. I usually go like orc, goblin, elf, dwarf, fish person, maybe a werewolf, vampire, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just keep, I don't know, just make sure that's where it's like really fun to do it. You know what I mean? Because you can really see the having a party that clashes a little bit but still gets through it, there's always the paladin that's like a police officer essentially, but like mixed with a priest, right? Where he's just like the moral police, and I mean that's gonna clash with the warlock who's got like infernal background or whatever. And
actually that's a part of the story in the second one is we meet the party's wizard. Now on the world that they're on Terra, arcane magic is considered evil because the world is ran by vampire or undead elite, right? So they are the ones who they keep all of the power to themselves. What's up, BA? They keep all the power to themselves, and that power, of course, in fantasy settings is is in this case magic. So they don't let the commoners no magic. It's illegal kind of thing. And not only that, but the one church that has kind of risen up to oppose all of this undead evil, they of course hate arcane magic as well. So the cleric of the group meeting the wizard, there's a bunch of tension there, which is really cool to see. Like their relationship is going to be it's going to be very interesting going forward. So.
Nice. Hail chat.
Drive
safely, Mr. Butt Sauce. Bat Sauce.
Yeah. and hail BA.
Hail BA, hail Wrangler, hail, of course, beat Bat Sauce, hail everyone else. The lurkers, if there are
Cory Barton.
Oh, hail Cory.
Yeah, Cory.
Yes, Cory did the Empress cover, the Blue Girl cover.
Oh,
He's
nice.
The one that did that.
I've never seen that last name before. I worked for a company that owned Barton Sand and Gravel, spelled like that. So I wonder if there's
any connection.
Yeah, the Bartons. I don't know.
And what I was gonna say is I used to not get it, but as I became like an author and stuff, because like early in my playing D&D days and like maybe some
Stan,
video
don't.
games.
Be careful.
Because there is the kind of like niche within fantasy that like that says magic is inherently evil, right? Like for example, you don't see it in Harry Potter. It's not like inherently evil. The people are evil in Harry Potter, right? But then like, or even in Lord of the Rings, right? It's not inherently evil, but in things.
You're talking about magic?
Yeah, just magic in general, magic use, arcane. Right? But
it's not funny. Be careful. Thank you.
Sorry, our son is dancing around.
That's all right.
He's climbing now and balancing on the edge of things and giving me a heart attack all the time. So.
I love kids, so it's all good. I'm glad that you have a bunch. So congrats. To me, that's real wealth. It's the ones that don't have kids. I kind of feel bad for. So
they're the ones
you don't know what you're missing out on.
Well, we lost our first son, and so our son that we have now is 2.5. But our dogs are very much our kids too. So it is a bunch when he gets like a little Sue. But I mean, we're hoping that in the near future we're in a position where we can maybe give Xander a sibling or. You know what? People were having kids deep into the depression, dirt floors, that's just what humans do. There's nothing wrong with it. And that's what we're here for, in my opinion. Even if you're an atheist, you cannot argue against that's the reason we're fucking here. I'll get
off my soapbox.
No, I totally agree. And I actually, we've been, it's, of course, everyone's talking about politics because it's election year and it's close, but there's, a lot of people talking about, that there's so many people that are anti-kids, and it goes beyond just, I don't want to have kids, and that's okay. No one has to have kids, but it is. I had a friend, not friends with her anymore, but when I was pregnant both times, she would send me anti-kid and child-free shit constantly because she doesn't want kids. And she, it's like, that's fine, but I'm purposely trying to grow my family right now. And it's just
good for you.
Wild to me. And now there's people talking about like, well, those people that are anti-kids and hate kids so much, should they even have a vote for what happens to the future of our country? And it's like, well, I mean, maybe. You know what I mean? How much can they really care if they're not even trying to contribute to that?
That's true.
Exactly. Not to poo-poo on my friends or people that I know that don't have kids, but it's like, I don't really want to listen to your political opinions if you don't have any stake in the future. Like,
but there are people that that can't have kids that want them or would be great parents that I'm like, I totally value their opinion.
100%.
But they're not like that either. They're not, you know what I mean? So
those are cases where I think a majority of them would understand where like the parents are coming from. At the same time, that is kind of like a tricky area because it's like, how can somebody who's unable to have kids like then have a stake in it?
I just think it's messed up that illegals are going to be able to vote, and they're literally flooding in so much right now. And sorry, I don't want to even turn it.
The people that aren't having kids, like I have friends, that don't have any kids, and it's like, how much of that is really the fact that they didn't want kids, or is more of the fact that like dating today is so horrible, especially for men? It's like, I'm sorry, guys.
So many opinions.
So it is. You got Tinder.
Well, we call women pick me, like, oh, she's a pick me, and yes, but there are men that are totally like that too. Like I just saw, I think it was a clip of Justin Timberlake, and he's like, men are nothing without strong women. Like women are nothing without protective men. Like it goes
they need
both
guidance.
Ways. It goes both ways so hard. There are differences between men and women, and it becomes like they're just trying to divide everyone in every possible way, when it's like, I don't care who cooks in your house, who cleans, who stays at home with the kids. You fill in the blanks, you figure it out, you work as a team and your family. And there's really, it's just, because I'm not super like, oh, traditional gender roles, like Andy will cook, I'll work on cars. It doesn't matter to us. I
mean, shit's got to get done. Yeah.
Right.
Whoever's best to do it, do it.
But I was watching this thing where this woman said something like, and I can't remember who it was, but she's like, oh, talking about how for women, like there's almost no good men out there, and he's like, they're everywhere. They're at Walmart. They're getting gas, or he's listing all of these places, and he's like, they just don't want you, and so he had to give her a harsh reality, because we have, and by all means, you have high expectations. If that's the person you're going to partner up with and be with forever, they should treat you well. They should do this, that, and the other thing. But those are bare minimum things anyway. So, I mean, beyond that, like, what do you bring to the table? And do you love that person for who they are, or do you love them because they treat you well? Because that sounds like you just love yourself.
Hey, what's up, Emily?
Like, of course it's good that they treat you with love, but that's what a mutual love is. You love that person for who they actually are. And I'm so glad that I don't have to date. I don't know how anyone's dating right now. And
I said that too. I'm like, I'm so glad I'm out of the dating pool. Fuck them.
Right. There's flaws with men and women, but I do see a lot of it in women lately, where they're so, I don't need a man, I'm independent, and I'm this and that, know, and it's like, well,
and spoiled and unskilled, like they don't, I don't know, they've just been protected for too long in a lot of cases, unfortunately.
I just sent Andy.
That's just on women. I have an opinion on men too. Don't get me wrong. Just bringing it up on the women because they don't get called out enough.
Where's my phone? Here it is. I sent Andy a comment today that I read, and I laughed so hard. You're gonna love this, because it's very much pretty much what you just said. But the whole argument about the man and the bear.
Oh yeah.
Oh, in the woods, yeah.
The man and the bear. You choose the man or the bear. Yeah.
So this comment is.
And then if you ask a father, you have to ask him is for his daughter, or the man or the bear. For the daughter, you leave your daughter alone with the man. It's like, I don't know about that question.
I text you so much.
I know it's just
like
bait.
When I'm at home, that's all we do.
I know it's just bait, but
yeah, it's bait, but still, it creates a conversation, so that's fine. Sure. Like, let's talk about it. Like.
This guy said, I actually haven't considered the fact that women might be so well protected that they can't even conceive of the fact that bears are dangerous.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
They will.
Yeah, that's very true. It's like, we never should have invented the washing machine, in my opinion. So, I don't know.
Take away my washer? No.
The gun is, it was downhill from there in more ways than one.
Oh, the
invention of the gun. Well, no, like too well protected at that point. Oh, like, now bears don't even scare us,
Yeah.
Like that one guy, there was a guy that I was actually, because in Minnesota we have a permit to carry. We have our permits to carry. They're not conceal and carry. So, my friend actually just brought up. He was like, somebody talked shit to me when I was wearing my gun, told me I had to conceal it, and they got into an argument about it, because you don't have to conceal it here. You can open carry if you have a permit. So
you just have to retreat twice before you brandish.
Don't even get me.
Stupid. Anyway, continue.
There's if someone busts in and puts you in danger and you shoot them, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
anyway.
Maybe.
Yeah. Who are they going to listen to? You or the guy that can't talk?
That's true.
So
that's true. It's your word against his.
Anyway, I was at the gas station, and I think it was before we went shooting, so that's why I was wearing it, So I'm in the gas station, there's a guy in a suit, and he like gave me the up and down. He was like, really? So there was a girl in front of me checking out, and then me, and then that guy in the suit, and he just gave me the up and down and stared at it and looked at me and said, really? And then it was like I was walking right up to the cashier, and she looked at him and looked at me, and she's like, I don't blame you, she said. And I was just like, it bothers him so much that I can protect myself, or what?
Yeah, I don't,
it's really
like,
weird.
what's the deal? Why does he care? Yeah.
But
like,
it is.
I mean, you as a woman, you carrying a pistol, that is equality.
Yeah, I will tell you right now, though, that the women carrying guns are not the ones saying, I don't need no man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well,
we're
that's
the ones
true.
like, yeah, my husband protects me. Like, I have no problem. It's not even like about like admitting it. Like, I have no problem like with the fact that my husband is the head of the household. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he keeps us safe. He dedicates his entire life, and everything he does, the motive behind it is his family.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's
Uh-oh.
is, you know, and so he's stronger. It's just, you know, he's just the man. And
I'm surprised that you had that reaction from somebody
inferior.
in Minnesota. Like, they're all kind of rural, right? I don't know.
A little
I don't
bit,
get up to Minnesota very often, but
it was kind of in the sticks too, but
yeah, which is kind of weird. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. We're a pretty divided
A lot of
state.
a lot of rural people, they just like they don't really care. They don't pay attention to that kind of shit. From my experience, it's like, okay, she's got a gun, you know. So I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah.
It was also weird that he was dressed in a suit, like not like a suit, but like a button up with dress pants. So he probably works in the cities. Maybe he was just passing through. I don't know, because it was
he doesn't have calluses on his hands. Is what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Low T.
Yeah, he's never shot a gun in his life. I highly doubt it. He's probably one of those guys that are afraid of them.
Literally afraid, yeah.
Which I firmly believe that if you have a fear of firearms, you should probably educate yourself and familiarize yourself with them and shoot them. And the only way to get rid of that fear is to actually learn about them and use them. You know what I mean? It's and then you'll feel a lot more comfortable, and then you'll know how to use them. And it's I don't know what everyone should have that.
It's not, but okay. Doubling back here real quick, with the arcane magic thing. What I was saying is, as I got older and became more of like a writer, and creating my own worlds and stuff, I realized why like stories like Adventure Time and these other things, like I think Vancian magic is a little inherently evil, right? If I remember right.
What is it?
Jack Vance magic. I might be wrong there.
Familiar.
I think
I'm not familiar.
There, but you know, you've heard of the other some other like IPs that have like every single magic user is evil, or it causes insanity or something like that.
Well, like in
Time.
Dungeons and Dragons, they had this whole campaign setting called Dark Sun, and it was a desert planet. And the reason that it was a desert planet was because the wizards drew life from the plants around them, or whatever was around them. In this case, it was like, you know, if you're standing in a field, you're drawing all this energy from, you know, the grass and the trees and shit. Well, it kills the grass and the trees just for you to cast your spell. So, with and so then that way magic, it's supposed to be like a metaphor for, it was a global warming or something back in the early 90s.
Right.
But
like
the whole point, consumerism, whatever. So, it would eat all of the surrounding environment. And I was like, that is one of the most unique, negative effects of using magic that I can name. I don't know. There's not a lot of other ones. Like, you know, if you cast a spell, something bad might happen. You know, in this case, it takes something bad to happen for the spell to even exist. So it's kind of cool.
Right. And it's like that trade-off, right? And
it's the trade. Yeah, it's the sacrifice.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Dark Sun may have been the D&D magic system that they were inspired by the Jack Vance magic. I think Jack Vance, he kind of did the same thing where his magic, but I think his was more like you're capturing an other dimensional spirit. That's what the spell is. The spell itself is like a spirit from another world, right? And you almost have to like capture it, and then so it takes like years of study for that reason, because you're kind of, I don't know, the whole thing gets really complex. And I think Dark Sun drew off of that a little bit. I mean, to be honest, I know for a fact D&D did, but basically everybody kind of took a little bit of Vancian magic after he came out, at least all the big names.
I'm going to have to look into it. I'm not familiar.
Yeah,
I know the name Jack Vance, but I don't know. I'm not familiar enough.
I have yet to read one of his books. I need to as well. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I've just heard of it. You know what I mean? I hear people reference it a lot.
Okay.
I don't know if people go mad in that or if they're inherently evil though, like I was getting at. But yeah, that's kind of where I wound up in my spirit animal story, where there's like real magic. I was like, okay, there's this idea, people bond with animals, cool. You can draw conclusions from there. But then I'm just like, but like magic actually exists too. So what do I do with that? And I started realizing there's this duality. It's almost the opposite of bonding with an animal, right? It's like you're exerting your will. You're exerting your pure will and your pure ambition. And like we just talked about, consuming something oftentimes. So like kind of taking away. So you're exerting your will and kind of taking away from like the world at the same time.
Sacrifice.
To bend reality. You're literally shaping reality to your will. Like that's very domineering and like authoritarian actually when you think of it at its core. I mean, I'm not like calling out magic, right? But I see the conclusion, and I drew the same conclusion as like it's kind of an evil thing in my spirit animal.
Well, one of the reasons, in my opinion, that it's like a wizard would be considered evil is because they see themselves in outside of or in opposition to God, right? Like the established stuff around, like the established reality around them, you could say would be God manifest, right? And then it is that wizard who says, no, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to create the world in to my own will. And then Everly. And then so that would be considered a selfish and evil act because they'll do whatever it takes to make their idea of reality over
revisionist.
Top of God. Did you see Rollo?
Like vandalism almost.
Babe, Rollo's like right behind you, like sitting like a creeper.
He's my shadow.
He's totally into it, dude. He's like,
and then Orky, you can barely see him. He's like right here. I'm just laying on him now.
Orky sits there with a big goofy smile, and Rollo totally is all business. He's like,
he has
that pout face, pouty lips.
He laid down now. He got called out. But anyway, Tell us more about like your magic system, for example, and for those who haven't.
Pause it.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Our son messing with something.
He's gonna give me a heart attack by the time he's
got like he's got a butter knife in one hand and the light socket in the other.
Yeah, basically.
Oh gosh, not quite, but jeez.
Yeah. Tell us more about Immortal Rising 2 and like maybe some more about your magic system. I like where that conversation was going, man. It's something I can obviously geek out about.
Sure. Well, all right. So I've been messing around with Grock. I was like, all right, Grock.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about myself, kind of stuff. And so
what's Grock? Why do people keep saying that?
Grock is an AI program on Twitter or X or Twix or whatever. And so it'll gather all this shit from either X itself or maybe from the internet in general, because it'll use phrases that I don't think I've actually typed out, but I've used in shows and stuff. So I think it pulls from all these different areas. Yeah,
shows.
I thought it was like
I believe
a movie character or something like.
No.
Actually, the term Grock. The term Grock comes from the book A Stranger in a Strange Land. It was a term used by the main character to mean that you fully understood something. Like you completely experienced it and had wisdom of that thing. You'd be like, I Grock it, or do you Grock me, right? So I don't know. It's kind of nerdy.
Kind of like you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, you can is like just like in like Scotland or Ireland or whatever.
No.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
I didn't know
Ken
that.
is no. Yeah, Ken. Yeah, like you can.
Can?
Or you understand,
Yeah,
you
do you
know,
understand?
yeah.
Kinning? Suppose that's where kinning comes from.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I can see that.
So talking about Grock, I asked Grock, give me a short sales pitch for Immortal Rising comic book I can read aloud, right? And so it says, step into the world of Immortal Rising, where epic fantasy meets survival horror in a tale that'll grip you from the first page. Imagine a realm where gods and monsters clash, and 5 strangers are thrust together in a fight for survival, not of their choosing. This isn't just a comic. It's an adventure where every decision could mean life or death. With artwork that feels like watching your favorite anime, Immortal Rising promises a journey through a richly crafted universe where your choices shape the destiny of gods. Join the uprising, because in this world, your story is just the beginning.
I need that.
It's like, thanks, Grock. Couldn't have said it any better.
The genre sounds fucking badass. What was it again? What how did you
survival horror and
survival horror? Yeah, that's awesome.
I like that. Survival
epic
horror.
fantasy meets survival horror, and it is like that, which is kind of funny because I pull from like my whole tabletop D&D group. Like this is all stuff that had loosely based on stuff that actually happened in our game. And if you've ever played D&D, you know that in D&D you may not survive, right? So the way that I approach
to be honest.
So that's kind of like the perspective I was taking was like what would it be like if you really are a dude who is in a world where fucking goblins exist, or like obviously evil creatures who do not care and are not animals, like it's a risky business when in a world where all the elites, are undead vampires or something, or some kind of undead. So it's just all of these things. It's like, yeah, D&D is a survival game. Like it's not just for theater kids to play story time. It's actually, you're rolling dice and you may not survive. And if you've read the first issue, all of you out there, you will know that I will kill a character. It does happen. So
right.
Turtle. You see?
Yeah.
Cute.
You gotta pull the trigger sometimes.
Or kids playing with his turtle, and it's just cute.
Nice.
But I think it's important to know when to kill a character and to be able to. Some people can never do it, and some people they do it a little too willy-nilly. But I mean, if the author,
like when I kill your brother every time.
Yeah, in D&D. Yeah.
Well, don't refuse to join the party. It gets old.
Oh, quick question. So in D&D, do you have more fun the more meat grinder it is, or do you have more fun the more casual it is? Like I should say it's casual. I mean, by casual, I mean like power fantasy, right? Because it's like you always win, you get your castle. It's more.
Oh yeah.
And then meat grinder is like everybody have like 3 characters, because when one dies, I want you to have the next. Yeah. Look for the traps. Basically.
So as a DM, I used to be the forever DM, but I don't know, last like I guess now it's been a while. It doesn't feel that long, but maybe 6 years or something. Other players have been kind of, hey, I'll DM and stuff like that. But when I DM, the way that I look at it is, okay, I'm not purposely trying to kill you, but I'm also going to set up situations where you could possibly die. Now, saying that is you get into it and your party is kicking everybody's ass. Everybody is having a good time. And so what I'll do is I'll just start to pour on more difficulty. Like I want to use up all of your hit points, all of your, we use magic points, all of your magic points, all of your consumables, your potion. I'm going to make sure that you fucking sweat and are worried. Even if like I'm not purposely trying to kill you, I want you to worry that I may actually roll fucking high and whoops, now you're dead, So that is not uncommon, but my players enjoy that, Sometimes some of the other DMs, like we have one DM who actually just ended his campaign. It's been about a year or whatever, maybe even longer, but he ended that campaign and last week. But he's mostly like a storyteller DM, Like it would be easy to avoid an encounter, a combat encounter, because I can figure out a way, a non-violent way around it. Whereas me as DM, I'm like, no. We haven't been in battle for like 2 sessions. This whole session is going to be one fucking battle, and you're all going to regret it, So I don't know. I try to make it difficult as much as I can without being obvious that, because sometimes it comes down to a shitty roll. It's like, oh damn, dude, I'm sorry you died.
There was one time.
We are.
There was one time my DM had he had his dungeon, and he didn't think we'd. He thought because there was a room full of like quite literally 20 goblins that we were it was just going to be a slog.
I can smell your shit.
But I'm a warlock, and there's just certain things in D&D that are just effective. And one of those things that's effective, you can just think of them right off the top of your head. It's like Eldritch Blast, Magic Missile, Counterspell, Dispel Magic, and Fireball. So I used Fireball on a whole bunch of. And as a warlock,
as you do,
max level, so
yeah,
it was just like that was done in 1 second. Next,
exactly. Yeah. See, and as DM, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, well here's some more
Goblin Mage, or like Goblin Mage Counterspell. What now?
Or Counterspell, exactly.
You're a warlock. You have 2 spell slots. Are you gonna cry? I countered one. You know what I mean?
That's funny.
So
are you gonna cry?
That's another thing. Like, there's the meme. Like, how do you defeat a party of experienced wizards? And I think a very strong go-to by default is golems, right? Because they're like immune to magic. Their body is like immune to magic. So it's just like, there you go. And they're literally the opposite of a wizard by being a big, strong thing, like a Hulk type thing.
Yeah, so, our DM, he actually used that, trope against us because, he's like, well, I'm going to throw this golem type at you, or what was it? It was some kind of an area that magic just doesn't work there, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a thing. Yep. You can have wild magic areas too. Like wild magic areas too.
Yeah, where shit goes bigger. Yeah. So, it's annoying as shit, but hey, I get it. As a DM, once a party gets going, you get to see their strengths and their weaknesses, and a lot of times, like a player may min-max, so it'd be like, well, you're min-maxing, that's your bad, because although you're max here, you're min here, which means I get to pick on this whole side of your ass. So this whole dungeon, this whole area of the dungeon is going to be your worst nightmare. Yeah, I am not above that at all. What's up, good stuff? Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good. Wife's just talking to me here. I didn't want to cut it off here. Yeah, we're all good. So yeah, a good DM will find those mins. Also, hail, good stuff. What's up, guys? And chat's going good. You guys, you're awesome.
It's good to see everybody come out. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Loving it over here. As a good DM, you do want to find those mins. That's what you're hunting for. Like as a player, I will min max, and it's because I'm also a DM. So I expect the DM to sniff out those weak points. Like,
sure.
And if they can't, like, I don't think a DM should have to like literally shut down a rule, right? Like, yeah, there's the sharpshooter. What is it? The sharpshooter crossbow expert. There's like a slight exploit there where you basically. What
do you got, like 5th edition?
Yeah, I'm thinking 5e here as a default. But like,
okay, I played 3.5.
Oh, perfect. Probably less exploits, but maybe more because of the time. Yeah,
maybe.
But I think like sure, if there's this exploit where you basically never have disadvantage, that's kind of cool. That's like your superpower. You don't want to shut that down. You never want to shut down like their like X-Men superpower, their Marvel superpower. You never want to just shut that down. If their whole thing is I want to be Bullseye, right?
Yeah.
Let them be Bullseye or Goku or whoever it is that they're trying to be.
Sure. Well, and because those games are designed for balance, like that's a lot of their play testing on stuff is to make sure that you can't just exploit one thing and win the day every time. Like, oh, okay, well, I'll just be this thing, and no matter what, I'll always win, kind of stuff. So they have balances on all that stuff, like if you're strong to fire, you're weak to ice, that basic kind of stuff. So
yes.
Yeah. And as a DM, just know what those are. And it's not always easy. Don't get me wrong. I've been frustrated as hell by some of my players, but then it'll be like, then the tables turn, right? Like it'll be like, well, in this encounter, I got you, bitch, and they're fucking pissed,
And you know what the really cool thing is? Like I brought up the golems, right? Like once you identify that really clear cut weakness, like okay, let's say you do have that like gunslinger. He's bullseye, but he's also just like, basically the gunslinger at the same time. The crossbow exploit, just to continue that forward. Right off the bat, as a DM, I'm just like, that's a very martial thing. Like those are physical objects. That's just a classic crossbow. That's just good old fashioned skill right there, right?
Yeah.
Can't do anything against ghosts though. So what you do is you just like it's the same thing as the golem, right? You just purposely don't give them a magical item, so they can continue to not do anything against ghosts.
Yeah.
Bring
and then
those things up.
You let them have a few more wins.
Bring those things up.
What things?
The touch things things we touch and play, Andy.
I don't know what you're
the things you annoy me with.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And why didn't we kill all the fucking flies in here, man?
What about the clips here?
They're everywhere. I'm so sick of it.
What clip did you want?
Just bring them up.
Oh, they're up.
And grab me that tennis racket, please, real fast.
All right.
This is getting obnoxious. We have a dog, Orcus. He will hunt for flies too, but if I kill them, the only reason he doesn't flip out when I grab this, because he'd get like triggered and bark and lose his shit like obnoxiously. Now I kill him and then I like hit it so the fly comes out of it and he eats the fly. So I hunt and then he eats it. And then he's okay with it.
He's like a dragon. Gross. Yeah, he's like a dragon. We're feeding him knights, little capture.
Knights.
Yeah.
I like it.
Do you have the? I forgot what I was talking about earlier, but
he just ate a fly.
Did you ever write the dragon scene where the knight goes into the cave or like the smog? The smog
I have not done that. No, not really. I mean, like in our game, we fought plenty of dragons, even in their layers. But no, I haven't like in my stories or nothing. No, I haven't done anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I suppose you could.
You'll have inspiration to draw from because of those many dragons, right?
Well, yeah, right. Well, actually, in the third issue, we finally see dragons. So there will be dragons in issue number 3. Which would be fun.
Hell yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Damen Matrix?
Damen Matrix. Yeah, they're trying to figure out what DM means. Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah, never mind what it's that now. That's what it is.
Dungeon Master. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You mastered that dungeon.
Dan, please stop playing with that.
Ringle.
You don't play with that all day until we get on the stream. Come on.
Bug Zapper.
Yeah. Wrangler says if I have to fight a dragon, I'm gonna summon Steve Irwin. Good call.
That's probably a good idea.
I mean it, Dan. Knock it off.
Oh, what does this say? If a
racquetball racket.
Oh, racquetball racket.
Zan,
yes.
Get off my foot. That's not nice. Stop.
I got to get a racquetball racket for sure. And yeah, I think we all want to be dominatrixes now, for sure. Do you have a memorable dragon moment? That's like
memorable dragon moment.
Like, is there one that jumps to mind where you and your players were? It was just like, wow, you know what I mean? Or like maybe it doesn't have to be a dragon. Maybe it's just like the big evil monster in the lair.
Right. Well, actually, so we went from 2nd edition to 3.5, and in game it was a pretty big transition because when we were playing 2nd edition, magic was really rare. Wasn't very. Not a lot of tech or anything like that. It was much more of like a Ravenloft setting, whereas like, well, the Undead Lord kind of stuff, right? And werewolves and zombies or whatever. So when we jump to 3.5, well, 3.5 is a much more magical system. Like, you've got 0 level spells where like, it doesn't really do, it doesn't cost anything, and like people can just, oh, I prestidigitation my whole house instead of having to clean it. So Magic becomes a much more easy, accessible, and regular thing. Well, one of the things that we went through as a table, we had this huge epic battle that was kind of like it summed up all of these loose plot ends and everything. It all came together, and I did like a Hydra kind of monster, and each head of that monster, I can't remember how many heads that actually had. I think it was like 4 or 5. But each one encapsulated a kind of like a school of magic, right? Like this one did particularly these kinds of spells or that kind of, And so the players like come across this monster, and they're over top of the world, they're fighting it, and then it's things get summoned in. So then like there's fucking demons, and then like angels show up, and like this god shows up, and that one, it got crazy. So yeah, that's probably awesome. One of the top battles that I can remember out of all the D&D I've played. That battle alone took probably 3 sessions, and a session then would have been probably, I don't know, 6+ hours. I'm not sure. We just play all day because like none of us had family responsibilities, so we would just hang out and play. And it was just like, oh my god, the build up, then the actual battle, and then the denouement, everything that happens after the battle. It was just such a epic, huge, engrossing thing that it's easily one of the best experiences that I've had as a table, playing D&D.
Oh yeah, man. I love those. They become like biblical in the lore.
Yeah, super cool.
In the personal lore.
And actually, the comic starts off before that event. So maybe I'll get to, it'll go so long that I'll actually be able to do that event as well, which I would love to do, because it actually a couple of characters' storylines kind of culminate in that battle as well. So we'll see how far it goes.
I'm excited for you, because I remember playing, and there's those epic moments. There's just these moments that you can't even write. You know what I mean? They're so organic that you just couldn't even possibly think of it, because you're collaboratively storytelling with all of your buddies.
Yeah, it's true. There's no other game like it.
So many times I'm just like, man, what I would give to like see this animated or read it or something. You know what I mean?
Well, you get it crazy. Now. You see why I got addicted to making this comic. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Immediately
I was just like, oh, sorry. Immediately I was just like, I know why he's doing it.
Really?
I know why you're doing it. Yeah. Hell yeah.
And originally it was just for us being my table, friends, family, people who have played and left, that kind of stuff. And then once I met Jose Garcia, I was like, holy shit, I can actually, the quality of the art has gotten enough to where I can actually maybe sell to a wider audience, to the public in general. And I haven't really looked back since, because I can sell this art for the rest of my life. All I have to do is working on the production part of it and my writing. So that's it. And I can do that.
Right.
Shit, I'll do that anyways.
Right. That's kind of where I'm at. Like, maybe later in my life, once I've got like a bunch of stuff established with my like novels and music and stuff, and I can just like,
Rolly,
it's its own thing off over here.
Yeah.
Then maybe I'll just like work through adapting like all of my favorite short stories into graphic novels, or maybe have an ongoing, comic series or something.
Mm-hmm.
But all I know is I do, like, that's my goal, is to just finish mine, because I know I can sell it forever. This is a book of art. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It totally makes sense why anybody would be into comics or want to do comics on both sides, because it could either be just a story delivery device, like similar to a book or a movie, It could be a book of art, which is like a painting. It could be an investment item, like an original Charizard Pokemon card that you've sealed in a Beckett graded thing. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
So, it's different things to everybody, and like even people who are just putting out like it's basically no story and just smut for the sake of just selling those covers that they know that'll sell and stuff.
Yeah, looking at you, Kickstarter.
Yeah. So even those ones, I got to give them credit because they're still just selling a book of art.
Their art, it's their art.
Yeah, it's their. And sure, there's no story, but there's not stories in like dirty movies either, or like even like really intense action movies. Not too much of a story at a lot.
No, not really. Pretty thin plot.
People love them.
Yeah.
So
well,
I'll always understand.
So, and then like with Immortal Rising, I mean the plot is pretty damn thick. I know in the first one there was a couple of people who were like, well, there's a lot going on. It's a lot to kind of take in. That's cool. That was kind of intended. And then some of it is also me like learning how to write and pace in a comic book. But that's also the first act. So it sets up the rest of it. And in the second act, in number 2, we kind of take a break on the fast pace. We pick up and we see the wizard of the party who will join the party by the end of the book. We see him in his normal everyday life in Terra, living in a small village, and what that would be like for, this awkward bookworm kind of dude. And then we see him with, the call to action kind of stuff, because his village gets invaded by by the bad guys, who in this case is personified by this Goblin Horde that comes in and ruins, burns everything down kind of stuff.
I thought you were going to say Goblin Horde at first.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Goblin
are they
Horde.
actually a whore? Dude,
like,
I
damn.
always, so when we played D&D, I started using Gobbo as, so my brother-in-law was a goblin, so I called him Gobbo as like a racial slur. And we recently were watching the D&D, the AI D&D that someone made with like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, all that, and they fucking say Gobbo. They say Gobbo the same derogatory way as me, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure other people do it too, but I was like, fuck yeah. I came up with that racism.
Touching the zeitgeist. I like it.
Yep.
Fucking Gobbo. I love it.
Okay, anyway, so Goblin.
Yep.
Goblin Horde. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the evil, right? The representation of evil.
Yeah, so that's the evil empire that the blue chick is the empress too. So and in this one it's kind of like, yeah, there's some fighting, and I'd say there's a bunch of fighting and stuff like that, and goblins and burning village and stuff like that, but the real conflict, in my opinion, happens after the burning village. There's a whole scene where they all are together after this traumatic event just happened, and now they have to kind of like deal with each other right after this horrible thing, and they have to figure out how to navigate each other's personalities. And that is very much, in my opinion, is very much a part of the core of the story, is these individuals trying to deal with each other and survive in the crazy environment they find themselves.
That's awesome. That's that's a great way to deliver a story. Mine ended up just being like a parade of characters with one major event at the end. You know what I mean? Very simple. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I'm not like, the idea of getting to know a parade of characters is different than getting to know the party, right? Getting to know the party can get to like psychological levels and like deeper themes of like friendship and stuff. Whereas like with mine, I had to like focus on explaining some of these characters, because it's like the first time we see them. Why are they important?
Yep.
kind of part of the idea.
standard's gone.
Every Viking has their own like story or whatever. Eric the Red, Harold Hadrada, Harold Fairhair, a whole bunch of like heralds and
my ancestor.
Yeah. Richard the Lionhearted. I mean, every great warrior has kind of like, if you have, that was the thing, the moniker, the Lionhearted, the Great, the Terrible, the Just, the Lucky.
Well, it's based off of the Kinnings, right?
Yeah.
The old Viking Kinnings. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, and so in the second issue, I get a little bit of time where they can all really have a minute to be who they are. So the reader, and I was like, damn, that's they're talking a lot. There's a lot of talking heads, and people get comic books because they like the action and stuff. But that's the whole first half of the book is just like one giant ass action scene, and then the second half is also an action scene, but from like a more of like a psychological version, where it's like now they have to spar and fight each other. And they do fight each other because they are extremely different. And these are, kind of like young men type who are trying to figure out the hierarchy of the group. Like, okay, well, who is the actual leader? And where is my place in the chain of command and the hierarchy? So all of that gets played out in the second issue.
So I do have to ask a few mandatory questions. DM, player to player, comic creator. Will you have? Okay, so I can just go down the list. I think. Will you? I don't have them memorized by any means. Will you have the arena fight between the main characters? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, arena fight.
The episode where they fight each other. There's one of those in every single.
That's so funny. So I will say that although it's not like official or even slap you in the face about it, I would say that the second half of the second book is very much that way because they are all like, they fight each other, not necessarily fists, but definitely like they're struggling to figure out their roles in this group and how they're going to go forward after everything they've already been through. So yeah, I'd say that's kind of like a Coliseum moment. But like them actually fighting each other, I don't really have that planned out. So no, I don't know. I don't think I do. No, they got enough shit to handle.
Because every game has like the creepy, like not even creepy, but just like the really epic fight or like the dragon moment, like we mentioned, right? Like that moment where it's like, before that Hydra moment, that dragon thing that you talked about.
Yeah.
Did they have like really good dialogue before, like leading up to that? Was there
it was an epic, it was kind of a drawn out epic event where they were like gathering these magical seals and like had to go to different planes to do all these things, and it was like pulling from different immortal characters who hadn't met before. So definitely there was some personality clashes. To me, that's some of the fun parts of role playing, and I wanted to put that into the book as well. It's like these guys don't just go along with it, just to get to the next part of the plot.
The Tavern Brawl. The Tavern Brawl. Do you have the Tavern Brawl?
I do have a tavern moment, but it's not in this story arc. It's in the next one. So
that's what I was gonna
say.
I think a lot of the appeal.
I want that tavern moment where like they're standing there and you got the definitely.
You got to start the comic.
You're meeting a bar.
Yeah, you got to start it that way.
I forgot I have to go get them diapers, so I'm gonna run and do that. Keep this all here.
Okay.
And don't move it. Okay.
Sounds good.
So I forgot to buy diapers when I was out, and it's like, so I'll tune in and watch. Okay. I won't join on StreamYard because the car is loud, but I'll listen. So.
Okay.
I'll be back.
It'll be good. So yeah, you there's the tavern moment.
Zan, come on.
The tavern moment, the dragon.
Cute.
Are you gonna have do you have any memorable heists? I'm just trying to like probe for
like heist plots. Yes.
Yeah.
So that one I do have
D&D.
kind of like a heist thing. It's later on. I'm not So I timelined everything out. I outlined it out to probably too many books, but I wanted to hit all the major plot points that I remember from the adventure. So I wrote it all out, and now I think as I go through it, I'm going to chop and splice things together. So, but yes, there is a heist moment, which actually goes into the tavern scene that you got to have, right? And that, that all, because they're elves in a world that is not used to elves. So, like, you're gonna have racist humans, like they're not used to that, and so like I go into racial shit a little bit. Like, for instance, the princes, the elven princes, they're fucking racist. Like they don't like humans. They think elves are the best, kind of thing. And not only that, but they're also like, oh, you're poor. Like, I don't want to talk to you. So you've got all these different kind of personality quirks. And yeah, so then they're in this human village that's not being burned in the future. And so they're in this human village and they're trying to not be seen, right? And so, or at least not be found out. And so, like, there's this whole kind of heist, atmosphere to that part of the story. But that's a couple issues away. So I can't really get into it too much.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, there is that.
And you don't got to spoil anything, but like, yeah, I'm just curious because I've had my own adventures. And,
yeah.
So and yeah, I'm just curious.
Be good for your
dad. You got a nautical one in there? Are they going
to be? Yes, actually, there may be. So I want to do one of the things on my campaign page that you'll find is an ash can, because I did a short story for Anvil magazine in issue number 2 of Anvil magazine. I did a story called Baphomet's Child. Well, that was it was in universe, but it had nothing to do with the main story. So it's just me kind of having fun, me and Jose having fun in universe. So, and I liked it so much that I think I want to continue doing more of those Immortal Rising tales. And so it'll just be like one-shot stories that kind of help fill in the universe. And one of the backdrop stories that I want to tell with Immortal Rising tales, it will have some nautical stuff in there because the guy has to like travel and stuff. So yes, we will be seeing stuff like that, as well as I don't want to go too far, but dragon men and stuff like that. So it's man, there's so much.
The representation of dragon men, man, is sorely lacking. We're seeing a boost in orc representation. That's fine. That's cool. Yeah, that's fine. But bro, what about Dragonborn? Yeah, we're the Dragonborn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Are you just doing lizard people, or mine are kind of like Krogans? They're like, because like the whole at least in RK, right? I was talking about spirit animals earlier when we were talking about like the morality of the arcane, but because my world of RK, which is my more adult, spirit animals is like all ages, you know what I mean? Even though I found a few like I don't know if you've ever done this, but like if you're trying to be like all ages and you find like a little diamond of potential really dope adult story in there. And what I mean is like he encountered these bad guys and they're a lot worse than he perceives them as, in my mind. I know what these guys have been up to before the story got here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and it makes me really tempted to just run off in a direction with those characters because they're kind of their own D&D party. They're based off the Merry Men, but instead of like good Robin Hood types, they're just like a corrupted version of that. I digress. The because RK, the magic is tied to items, so there's like no morality necessarily it's just all person morality. I forgot what my original thought with that was. It'll come back to me, but that's kind of the direction I was going, I guess. Shit, I forgot what I was saying.
Well, earlier you asked me about my my magical system, right? And and actually the wizard character, one of the reasons that I wanted to even have him in there was because he explains the magical system. because as it was told to me by my editor originally, it's like, well, but I don't understand how any of this can work, kind of stuff. So I was like, well, I'll have to explain that to the wizard. And so it's not, I don't necessarily start quoting rules or nothing like that, but I hit around about it. Like, it's an energy that can be exhausted. So like after the wizard has cast enough spells, he's like, oh, I can't go on, kind of stuff. And yeah,
fatigue.
He makes fatigue. He makes the argument against the cleric, who's remember I was talking about the church doesn't like arcane because the undead lords use arcane magic to rule over the all of the people, and so they inherently don't like arcane magic. Well, so the wizard and the cleric, they immediately start clashing, and you hear arguments back and forth. The wizard's like, it's not the magic, it's who uses the magic. It's like, I can use arcane magic, and I'm not like the undead lords.
2A argument. Yeah.
And then so the cleric's like, yeah, but it's it's a rot on your soul and it's corruptive and all this other stuff. So yeah, that's a whole dynamic in their relationship.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. And even if there is like a drop of corruption with every use or every now and then there's an argument for that character to make against the other one. But yeah,
well, I leaned into the dungeon, because Dungeons and Dragons is very it's built on like Platonism. It's very Platonic, and so I kind of did that. It's like, well, like in you say like in the real world, people use Platonic. I guess you'd say Platonic logic, where it's like, right, these metaphysical, this thing has a metaphysical power that I can incorporate into this, draw from that energy and put it into the spell kind of stuff. And that's how I use the arcane magic in Immortal Rising. It's like, the wizard, and I even state this, like the wizard has studied things like natural law and metaphysics and why the planets are where they are and what they mean and stuff like that. And so that's something that I really wanted to kind of delve into, and also the morality of having power like that. I guess I liked how you put it. It was kind of like a 2A argument. It's like,
yes, sir.
Just because it's not the gun, right? It's the gun user, and that's something that will slowly kind of develop in the story as around the wizard, because that's a part of his whole character is magic itself. You get to understand magic in Immortal Rising universe through this wizard. So, and he's a pretty important wizard in the long run, but if we get there, you'll see.
Always, if you're gonna follow a wizard, it's either gonna be a throwaway wizard or a really freaking important wizard.
Very important, yeah, right.
Yeah. Man, so I imagine the wizards in your world, since like if it's tied to fatigue, right? Mm-hmm. Great classic. That's a great classic. I think that's like what Harry Potter does too. What I imagine when I'm imagining, especially in like a gritty universe like yours, right? Like survival horror. Oh, the magic just makes them consume so much more calories than the normal person, even when they don't use it. Yeah. Every single wizard looks like a freaking wizard. They look like crackheads, and they eat like 3 times as much as the average person, right? So they need to have money too. Which, I mean, now they got to use their magic to make a little money. Yeah. So like you can already see kind of this general default personality forming of your wizard types, I guess.
Crackheads. Got it.
Well, no. They're well.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they're addicted to magic, maybe.
I mean, I've met a crackhead or two, and I'm sure I wouldn't doubt they think they're wizards.
Yeah, fair. But I was gonna say the physical toll You know what I mean? Like they're so in tune with the magic that it's like, and since it's tied to their fatigue, you know, like it would be like tied to their biology a little bit more. It'd be more apparent, like when they're if they're like going to the limit all the time using magic, they would just be like not an ounce of fat on them and just like hungry all the time. Well,
I can't remember who did it, but there's this one fantasy painting where it's of a wizard in his wizard lab or whatever, and he's got the classic white beard. I think he's got a cone hat and everything, and then he doesn't have a shirt, and he's just ripped and lean, and he's like casting some badass spell.
Yeah, dude,
I love that one. It's so great.
That's when it's tied. That's when you keep all your spell slots in crystals. You've invested in you kept all your spell slots in crystals.
That's so funny.
I never redline. You can see from my pecs.
Yeah, and actually in our at our table we got rid of spell slots and we use mana points or magic points. So and we found that it helps balance out wizard classes or caster classes to the melee classes, just because like early on wizards are fucking practically useless. It's like, he's got one spell, he's got one slot a day. It's like, what?
Yeah.
So it's pretty lame.
Say, if you have a foreknowledge of the most useful spells, like I was mentioning, like there's a list of them. There's like a short list of them. I mean, like you're right. Like they're not too useful at level 1, but you can. I mean, I've seen people come up with some really crazy, like clever things, like at level 1 too. It's like they're getting right after it. You know what I mean? Like when you let a DM play, a wizard is almost like it's almost like sandbox mode for them in a way. They're like, because think about it, they got how many liches has that DM designed? Like how many times has that DM read the rule books and gone over?
You gotta know your shit.
Yeah,
I will say that I lean on my players because I want to say a couple that are really rule lawyery, but it's probably the whole table. Like because everybody will look it up. In fact, as when I'm DMing, and not even just me DMing, but especially when I DM, I know I'm like, if I'm not clear on something, or even if it's just something that we've done 100 times, I'm like, well, look it up, because the wording is everything. Like it could just be one word that you think it says. It doesn't say that word, right? And so you can't use it in that way. And so whenever you're doing something like that, you got to look it up, and we're gonna do it by the numbers, and you just got to trust in the development of the game, the balance of the game.
Yeah.
And I find there's a lot of balance in 3.5. So it's got its problems, but at the same time, it's got a lot of things figured out that I like.
I think even if everybody just like put all the dice away and only use D6s, it would still work. Like just whatever system you like. Do you even need dice? You know what I mean? Like you can have like one D20 maybe, and the DM.
Look,
is the
don't take away my light gambling. Okay, right? I need my gambling.
Exactly. Yeah. We're crit. Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. Man, when somebody rolls a crit, at a high stakes part, and then boom, 20, bitch, and you're like, everybody's like, what? It's so fun.
This is why, like a full-blooded crit fishing, like that's the character's superpower, is they're trying to cheese the game and get crits. Like not the most powerful, but just so explosive that it just feels so good playing that. So like that's why, like earlier when I was saying, when people are trying to cheese, man, let them cook, and then just
let them do it.
Act accordingly. Yeah.
I mean, that's half the fun. Like it's like, min maxers. I don't know, do it. And because a lot of times it'll be, I want you to do that, because if you can break the game, then do it. And then we'll know as a table, we'll know that it can be broken in that way. But if you try it and I'm having difficulties, I can ask, like my table is, like you were saying, cooperative. Like people, I've done this before. Like we had this, not long ago, we had this badass wizard, a buddy of mine who never, I was like, I don't want to play a caster. I don't like casters, wizards, forget it. And then when he actually played one, he ended up becoming one of the best wizards at the table. Anyways, he ends up fighting this.
He knows what they're capable of. He's like,
maybe you're right. So he's like, he's fighting a Dracolich. So, this Dracolich has got all these magical power as well. The two of them fucking spar, dude. And I'm like, wait a second. All right. Because the player figured out how to like cast like too many spells. I'm like, there's no way. Right. And then, no, it's right here. And he's got all this shit. And we look it up and it's all on the table, totally legit. I'm like, okay, me as a DM, I don't know how to beat that stack. What the fuck do I do, guys? This Dracolich would know. Like, he's clearly way better at, being a Dracolich than I am. What, how could it happen?
True.
And they're like, well, you could actually counterspell him this many times and then finish it with this. I was like, great, and so as a table, they don't necessarily try to stack it for themselves and against the DM. Like, we all just kind of play.
It's like, listen, guys, we're all here. We're collaboratively storytelling, right? It's not me versus you. Not me versus you. Yeah, I chose I chose a Dracolich. I'm sorry. This is where we're at. But we all have to recognize this Dracolich knows probably no more.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He knows what he's doing better than I do. So
I mean, just the idea of like a beholder, they have daydreamed of every single scenario that can possibly go down. So like literally Gygax invented certain creatures because he was encountering these same issues of like power creep and stuff like that. That his characters were getting too wealthy, stuff like that. They were understanding the rules. So like it's come to the point where it's at after many iterations. Like I'm a 5e player, you're a 3-5 player. There's there's Pathfinder players. There's like I mentioned D6 system players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, if it just delivers the story and you guys can all just kind of collaborate, and if that involves like being honest with each other, sometimes that's being honest about what system you're playing, also just like what enemy you're fighting and stuff like that. It all that's
and don't get me wrong, like there's plenty of times where a player would be like, oh, this other player, this motherfucker, he's blah blah blah, and we'll or me as a DM, I'm like, that motherfucker's doing this to me. What am I supposed to do? But and then when we come back the next game day, come up with a plan to kind of get around it or whatever. So and just deal with it. It balances out in the end. It's like, sure, you got me last time because I wasn't expecting it, but this time I know what you're fucking doing, asshole.
and like we live for those. There should be a few of those confrontational moments. I mean, like where you can kind of feel the DM there, but not like in a bad way. If one player is excelling a little bit faster, it's just what happens, and then sometimes like when magic items are distributed, like some magic items just whoops, that had a disguise on the changeling, even though that person can't fight because they're a changeling magic user, let's say.
Yeah,
they can be anybody in the world.
Yeah,
they have like just that simple item to a changeling, for example, just has so much synergy. They've almost leveled up twice compared to the entire party or something.
That's true. That can happen.
Yeah. And just that simple item of like a hat of disguise or like a like a badge of disguise or a ring of disguise or anything like that, where it's just a constant effect. That's a simple disguise self spell or whatever like that.
Yep.
That's not broken unless you give it to like a changeling. So like I don't know, that just rewards clever players,
definitely.
Seems broken at first, but if it's not fair to the players, I don't know if it's the DM's responsibility to then now give those players
and stuff that seems broken at first, give it a couple levels, because then the monsters will change to where they're powerful enough to deal with that third level spell, So it's like
fireballs are crazy against 20. Fireballs are crazy against 20 goblins in a tight confined space, but against the Dracolich, it's like,
not so much. So like you were saying, let the players have the spotlight and take some of the cool. It's nothing wrong with that. Let them have a fucking good time, and then because you know, as a DM, you can end all that shit real fast, one way or another. And but the game, if you're playing a well balanced game, you know, sure they're gonna shine here, but next level, maybe not. Or just give them a monster that they hadn't seen before, you know, something like that. All that matters in the end, you know.
Like I said with the busted synergetic crossbow expert, whatever that combo.
Yeah.
Boom, a ghost. What do you do? Like you're literally not hurting the ghost. You're shooting.
It's going right through it.
What do you do? Oh, your HP is permanently being drained. You're being aged 10 years per round. What do you do? Oh, looks like you're dead. You know what I mean? Because you didn't run away because you're so prideful and wanted to min-max so bad. But if you,
I've killed characters because of that. Yeah,
they're like, you won't kill me, dude. Just run. You won't kill me,
like,
dude. Just run.
Willing to bet?
Trying to teach you something. Go find a magic item, dude. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know,
I want my players to be nervous. Like, not necessarily scared, but you're at least gonna be fucking nervous every encounter. So, well, maybe not every, but most encounters. How about that?
Yeah.
Because eventually they get to a power point where it's like they're pretty fucking confident, you know, then like they feel like they don't have to worry. So yeah, there's gonna be times where you know, you're gonna rough up, you know, the monster or whatever, because you legitimately are a badass. But then that doesn't last long because I'm gonna make you nervous again, asshole.
There's always a bigger dragon.
Right. It's always a bigger fish. Yeah,
those legendary actions are busted. They're literally written. It's like, oh, this just happens. If you can use a legendary action and you just succeed. It just happens.
Oh, that's like 5e.
Yeah. There's some stuff like that. They really wanted the boss battles just to feel like boss battles. So they got things like legendary actions, and then when that's not enough, you put the legendary monster inside of a lair, and then they get lair actions and lair abilities.
Oh.
Which all makes sense, you know, in the scheme of things. Yeah. That's how you get harder.
I'll say one of the things that that helped me as a DM was using the environment in battles. So I know maybe it sounds kind of whatever, you know, oh, what does that mean? But like coming up with especially with in like dungeons and shit, you know, doing themed dungeons is really fucking fun. And then also doing like having interactive scenery, you know, which I kind of pulled from, you know, video games. It's like you want them to have to jump up on that platform to get the perfect shot to, you know, to actually affect the monster, or you got to hit him in a certain spot. Like all that kind of stuff really plays into a good battle or dungeon. Yes, it does. Even a dungeon room, you know. One
of my favorite things is the living dungeon. You gonna do that?
What is that?
Like issue 12 or something? The living dungeon. You ever do that trope?
I'm just going like the dungeon's alive.
Yeah, what I did is what did they do? They went inside of a yeah. They went inside of a they were in the desert, right? And they went inside of a dead god, I think. It's always a dead god because then they can be big enough to be a dungeon, you know. But it might have. Oh no, it was like a dune worm. It was like a dune worm, I believe. They went inside of a sleeping dune worm, and it was so big. And like, it was so big that like mind flayers were like massaging the brain, and then you had like other electrical monsters working like stimulating some of the nervous system. It had like quote unquote parasites in its stomach, which I had like cave fissures hanging out, like, you know, cave.
Oh, you can imagine, there you go.
Yeah, you can imagine like a stomachy environment with like things hanging everywhere, and all those things are like a cave fissure. And a cave fissure looks, you know, since it's very crustacean, like it resembles like a parasite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can just have all kinds of. Yeah, you can have all kinds of. Hold on, you ever play Ocarina of Time?
So I have not, but it is on my to play list. So yes, because my son is a Zelda, you know, fan, and I played a bunch of the games. That was one of them that missed me because I didn't have a 64. So I've got the Nintendo Network or whatever, so probably gonna buy it just because we got to play it. But right now, my son is playing Tears of the Kingdom, so we're not gonna get away from that for now.
Dude, I can't wait till my son plays games. I'm gonna play games with him. I'm gonna play like
hell
D&D
yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I've
got a couple girls and one boy, and love my girls. Don't get me wrong, but me and my son, we bond in a different way. So
hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Oh man, you'll have to ask him about I forgot what the name of the king is. It's the Zora's Zora. It's the Zora temple when you're a kid still in Ocarina of Time.
Okay.
It's basically you have to go inside of a big whale, and the whole thing is like a living dungeon. So.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. Kind of like in Kingdom Hearts. You ever play that one where you go inside the Pinocchio whale?
Oh yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. But yeah, like they did a really good job with that, like just how creative you can get with doors. The doors are all the doors are all like membranes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bungholes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Sphincters.
Yeah.
But let's go through your campaign here before we
sure. Yeah, I can't. I gotta get up super early. I get up at 3 a.m. So let's go ahead and wrap her up.
Oh yeah, and I'm literally kind of holding my son with one leg here, trying to restrain him. When I was muted a second ago, the dogs were like yelling at each other. I'm like, hey, you guys, just chill out. Just chill out.
Yeah. Well, it's when you were not focused on them. Now they want all the attention, right?
100%, brother. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like what my wife said earlier. It's like, oh, you wait all day and then play with your toy while we're streaming. It's like 100%. The toy makes noise. Yep. We're looking at the screen right here, talking to somebody that he can't see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they don't know what's going on.
100%. And then as soon as I stop, now it's not interesting.
No, look at me, Dad.
Yep, exactly. But here we will do this, and just walk us through it here. 50 backers, brother. Good job.
Hell yeah, feels good. Okay. Just got that today. So thank you to everyone who has backed. Man, it's so. Oh, I love it. I'm having such a good time.
Oh yeah, dude. You got something good going here. Like I said, people resonate with the idea of bringing their campaigns to life. They know that as I was just kind of like going through it with you this whole time. Like there's certain things people expect. It's like the tropes that exist within D&D stories are they're not cliches, right? Unless they're done. That's when a trope becomes a cliche. But it is when they're done poorly, right?
Yeah.
But from your you have real experience. You have many hours playing actual on table action with your buddies. You have organic stories to draw from, and I think people can they can pick up on that, and they can trust that. Like I said, you had to think dragon encounter. You probably had like 5, or more, like tons of them.
There's a lot of them.
So,
and actually, like I was saying, in the next campaign, in the third book, there will be at least one dragon, probably some more, but there will be one dragon that we get to know. I wouldn't say real well, but only because it's the short story. Because Immortal Rising, the book, it has the main story, which is like 34 pages, and then the side story, which is the Knights of Locutus, which is like 10 pages, and that's the whole Clash of the Titans. Where you can see the gods and the choices they make and the information that they know from the story and stuff like that. So in the third one,
that's a good idea, dude. I have to just say that okay, because like a lot of times you just have the cosmology and stuff of the universe, like D&D, for example. It's just like the cosmology exists, but it's like, yeah, dude, for real, like as creatives, when you have the keys to this whole universe, why can't we see that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because like, you know, as the DM, you know, in my mind, you know, the players may not know, or the characters may not know the big decisions, you know, that the gods are making, but it's a DM you do. So like, otherwise these things wouldn't be happening, you know. And so I wanted to have a way to show people, and not only that, but then we could also, or I could also introduce, you know, high level characters that would never have been mentioned, you know, and a perspective on the whole universe that you never would have got if I had just done the first level adventure. You know, I get to show off, you know, more powers, and Jose gets to get into more detail and just be crazy with the art. So yeah, looking forward to the third one for sure.
Oh, you can literally kind of show them how the soup is cooked, so to speak.
I'll bring you.
Yeah, it's like, well, why is this happening? Well, this is why. It's because the gods are doing this, and so now, you know, these characters are drawn into this to have to do that kind of stuff. Yep.
Exactly. You got money back. What the fuck?
Here, we'll move on.
Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, my wife was.
I just grabbed him so he's not crying when you're on there.
She picked up the baby here, so I'm actually a little bit. Oh, yeah. We're a little bit like, okay, a little bit freedom here. My leg is not holding back a child. But yeah, you can like I was saying, you can kind of. You mentioned somebody said, I don't know how all this is working earlier, and so you introduced your wizard. To show everybody how it's working. Yep. You can do the same thing here, right? This is one of the criticisms I've seen people. I don't know if you're familiar with the new Rohirrim show. Have you seen that?
No, I'm not. Okay. I'm not watching it.
Like, okay, yeah. So it's like, just to super summarize it. It's like, Lord of the Rings anime, cool. Peter Jackson attached, cool. It's all centered around this character that Tolkien didn't even give a name to. Okay. And then like the trailers come out, and yeah, it's just like all the like feminist stuff, you know, like don't need no man.
Of course.
And then all the articles, you already know the articles. We've all seen the articles. Like she's better than all the other ones. Step aside Eowyn and Arwen because this lady can talk to eagles for no reason.
Yeah, she could slay.
Yeah. So yeah, that is unfortunately going to drag Peter Jackson down. But
well, you know, so if you say the person out there is watching this who has read the first story, you know that I will kill women and I hate women. No, I'm just kidding. That's why they're the bad guys. No, there are no girl bosses. So although I do, you know, obviously I love women and feminine power is a real thing and all that stuff. Actually, I kind of take a different approach because
that's the way to do it.
In the first story, although she is, you know, I would say a strong woman, the character isn't a girl boss, and in fact, her main power has nothing to do with her strength. It's the wisdom that she leaves with the main character that helps him get through in the second book, and you know. You have to read the first one to know what I'm talking about, but you know, he reflects on the things that he learned through her as they were kind of like together, even though they weren't in a relationship. They were in like a survival situation, being in ranger training, to where they had to work together and overcome their problems, and which she mentions in the first issue. You know, she's like, well, you know, we were stuck together and we didn't know each other. We still had to overcome things and things like that. So the wisdom that he gains from her, he has to, you know, he carries with him, and it helps him overcome things later on. So it's pretty cool.
Well, dude,
instead of being a girl boss who beats everybody up.
Exactly. Like essentially just a man boss with a vagina.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, yeah, I think you're on the right track by taking different approaches, because yeah, like there's this knee-jerk reaction that here I'll there we go. There's like this knee-jerk reaction that I think a lot of modern like about half of us now, because like if we can just judge by how divided the country is, right? This knee-jerk reaction to just only do girl bosses or never do girl bosses, right? And it's because of intersectional feminism infecting media and entertainment with politics, and essentially doing what I said earlier, where you take a trope and you do it poorly, right? And it's because of the injection of the politics. It inflates it, right? And people can pick up on that, and they're like kids, like just eager to pop that balloon as soon as they see it, and it depends on what side you're on and stuff. But I digress. I think the different approach is in fact the way to do it, because women are a beautiful magical thing in and of themselves. Okay, like
they have their own power.
Yes, like there's nothing like they are. I heard somebody say that they are they're essentially portals that bring souls into the world, and like that's so fucking true. They're like stargates that like bring souls into existence, and that's like so true. It's so crazy. You can have basically anytime you need somebody, and this isn't even like a knock on women or anything, but like if all of the traditional male roles like the strong man, stuff like that, you know, even the archer makes a little bit more sense to be a dude, because it takes a lot of freaking upper body strength to pull back that bow, right?
To do it.
Yeah. So, but like any other role, you could easily just like plop a woman down in there, like I don't know, a priest, even like a leader, right? This actually, because like when you approach the mindset of like, okay, I'm not gonna like be like super patriarchal or whatever unless you want to be, unless you want to be like historically very like real world historically accurate. Like let's say you're just taking your own world and you're like, leaders can be anybody. Well, since traditionally leaders don't really have to fight in battles or lift anything heavy, royalty even, you know what I mean? It kind of looks like you can put a little bit more women there, right? Clerics, priests, anything but somebody that has to like lift or pull something, you know what I mean?
A little upper body strength. Well, so and then like I was saying, you know, you had the ranger chick, you know, who's not a girl boss. There is a girl boss in the story, and that's the Empress. You know, like she is a commander. Her whole presence is that she is a commander. She's fought to get to where she is. In fact, in the first book, you know, I have a few narration bubbles. It's like it describes her in her career. You know, she uses this ideology of the pillars of destruction, and basically that means like it's like a subversive way of gaining power. You know, kind of dancing around the idea of like say Marxism or something, but the whole point is that it's a subversive technique or mindset to where she grew to power over all of the empire, and now she's Queen Bee. She's the main bitch, and she only answers to the god that they serve. So, and we kind of see all of that, but that's very much in contrast to the girl who is the love interest in the first book. You know, like she's not any of that. You know, she's very kind of humble, down to earth, charming, that kind of stuff, and not a girl boss at all. So
likable, wifeable.
Likable. Yeah. She had to be. Because she had the way I kind of did it. I was like, to humanize the main character, I wanted to show someone who liked him. You know, someone who was, even if their love wasn't necessarily able to flourish or whatever, I had to show that he is a likable dude, and by a very likable person. You know. So she had to be even better than him in a lot of ways, and instantly. So just so people immediately knew that she was a kind-hearted person, which means he must be too, right?
And ain't that the truth too? Like anybody who's married out there, like finding somebody who's better than you. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't mean like I need to find somebody more attractive, but just like somebody who encourages you to want to grow. I think you touch on something really good there. That's a good quality for the love interest to have, is like they make the hero want to be better or whatever.
Yes, exactly. And that was her main purpose, was to kind of introduce that train of thought that he carries with him going forward.
Yeah. And I mean, who else would? I mean, who better to do it, I should say, right?
Yeah, than his love interest. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just thinking, like, there's some badass moments that you can have with the ladies. Like, oh, do you want me to play the trailer here?
Dan.
Okay.
Sorry, go for it. The audio's not the best, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, here, I'll just continue my thought since we're low on time, and I'll let it play like that. Is this? Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. I was just saying, like, there's a whole bunch of, like, badass moments where, like, you could toss up a magical shield, like magic users just in general, like a lot of them could be ladies. It's just people are so quick to just draw the misogynist card or whatever, and like don't even realize that certain things just make sense when you look at like actual science and statistics. Like, just there's a disparagence of interests, meaning like men are literally just drawn to certain things, women are just drawn to certain things. So like more teachers, more nurses. It's just it's just freaking nature and biology, man. And you can have badasses in any regard. You could have a teacher that is just as cool as like an Alexander the Great, like orc warrior over here or whatever. You could have the teacher, that's just as awesome. And makes just as much of a difference. You can an empress, right? How much can a queen do? I mean, I know there's a lot of, especially recently with like Queen Cersei from Game of Thrones and stuff. There's a lot of queens these days. But there always has been a lot of queens also.
Yep, they've always been there.
Just makes sense, man. I again, anybody who's married knows ladies know how to give out a good order, and B, they know what to expect and what kind of standards to hold for themselves and stuff. Basically, they know how to be queens, right? But yeah, I digress. There's a whole bunch of great roles.
For sure.
So people don't have to have the knee-jerk reaction of just cutting every single woman out or having them all be the same. They also don't need to have the knee-jerk reaction of making them all into men and putting them in heavy plate armor.
The women don't need to just be men with women's skins. It's like that's so old. Like I've had to watch that shit since fucking Xena in the 90s. Like, how played out the warrior woman is. Like
he basically got the full cash crop of it. Xena did. That was like that was like the peak warrior. Like, fuck yeah, warrior princess, let's go. You know what I mean? Right.
And that was the seed. It's only increased since then. Like, oh my gosh.
That was Xena.
Like, can we just have like a normal chick? Can we just explore feminine power instead of it's just a dude in a skirt? Like,
when you do that correctly, it's so powerful because it galvanizes the ladies. It empowers them. It empowers them, man. It empowers them when you capture those really strong, basic feminine ideas in a true light. Like, I'm walking a tightrope with my full length. I won't keep you much longer here. We'll wrap up here.
Okay.
I'm walking a tightrope with my full length novel. I have a female protagonist. And I wrote it while me and my wife were attempting to have children, and then eventually did have children. So like during the pregnancy too. And I went to her and like my mom for, any lady questions. The protagonist is female. So, but I had to, like, my goal with that was like, who's more vulnerable between for starters, if you're going to ask yourself what sex is your protagonist, which of the two is more vulnerable? It's 100% women are more vulnerable in every sense of the way term, and then you make her pregnant. She's more vulnerable. You can create a compelling situation by just creating a vulnerable protagonist, and essentially that's what I did. And I had to get into the mind of a woman, in a sense, like how they would have to get through certain situations without just being able to sword fight everybody, or you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Outmuscle them.
Yeah. So she becomes like charismatic, charming, gets people to like her. Those people fight on her behalf, right?
Right.
And then especially like when they find out she's pregnant and stuff, you put all that in a world where that matters. Why does that matter? Okay, humanity's endangered. Okay, now it matters. You know what I mean? So in that society, people would prop up like moms more, or even require it, like I actually have. It's like kind of dystopian. It's like fascist in the way where, in the sense that like guilds control everything. It's not necessarily like politicians. Humanity exists within walls that are just ancient. They've always been there. So just imagine like ancient like Egyptian walls instead of pyramids. They were found, and it's the only safe place from orcs and Dragonborn, which I remembered my thought earlier on Dragonborn, but it's neither here nor there. They're like Krogans from Mass Effect. My Dragonborn, there's a reason humanity's endangered. Everything is out to get them. Or they're behind walls, you know?
Yeah, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, dude. I saw survival horror, Grock is onto something there. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like not necessarily grimdark, but like grimdark works too. But like yeah, there's like a certain setting with like D&D style, like it's just realistic. But I digress.
Yeah.
Anyway, you get this, you get everything controlled by the guilds. They can do corrupt things like literally control everybody's fertility, gaslight everybody into think like this is our way of life. This is like what's expected of you, like almost in a very Spartan way. You know, like when you turn this age, everybody has a kid, period. And guess what? You don't get to know your kid. They're taken away from you and they're given to a mentor. Like if it's a boy, there's not two parents. The boy goes to a male mentor that we choose, and they raise your kid. You continue doing whatever you fucking need to do for society. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know, she eventually runs away because she, you know, traditional values, like she figures it out. You know, she's well read, so she wants to like raise her own child, right? Regardless of what it is, and convinces people to like her along the way. They fight on her behalf. She gets more pregnant along the way. Yes, magic exists in the form of objects, right? So then you can get like a pregnant woman using it without it like hurting her. But there's a whole bunch of plot points because it's a thick 150,000 word novel. But like, yeah, I digress. This is why I have a lot to say on like the woman characters, man. Oddly enough, I'm not like super militant about it, but I think people just need, on like both sides, need to chill out. Don't delete them all. Don't turn them into men. Embrace femininity. Like, what is a woman? Like, embrace those things. You know, like they're mothers. They're mothers. So the ultimate woman character is a mother, right off the bat. Not even sorry. That's just a fact. Like, it's just a fact, you know. Or she's not, and the fact that she's. And maybe it's not necessarily that she's not, but more like she can't be. Now you have a very compelling thing, because now it's like tied to her identity and her biology. And you can create a very bitter person out of that. You can create a very generous person out of that. But I don't know, man. I think people have very much misinterpreted females in fantasy, like Rings of Power is a bastardized.
I don't need my women to, you know, basically just be men, you know, like, come on, dude.
There's reasons we love them. It's not like we don't want to see them.
The fact that like them beating me up is not one of the things that I would fall in love with. I don't know,
because they can beat us up in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? If you want to show women like dominating men, I encourage them to just look to real life. Like, just look up a few divorces, like, and like figure out what kind of drama was going on there, and you can figure out a lot of ways. You know what I mean? That like women, you know what I'm saying? You can look up a lot of historical figures. You know, one that comes to mind, one of my favorite that I still, and have yet to see any. But you know, if Amazon would have threw $1 billion at this idea, and this will be one of our final things before we part ways.
Okay.
The Pirate Queen from China. I think her name was Lady Chang or something like that. She essentially started off as a prostitute, convinced a pirate king to marry her, and then when he died, she inherited everything, and only made it stronger from that point, and like outlawed, sexual assault and stuff like that, and everybody continued to follow her, even though she was a female in a medieval pirate setting.
Yeah,
and she went on to bring all of like the government of China to its knees, to the point where they just like asked what she wanted, and so she got to retire on her terms alive. Like
there we go,
literally retired, and it was fine. But anyway, any final thoughts?
I'm about over it.
Final thoughts. Yeah, I think that if you want unique setting, amazing art, interesting, likable characters, and engrossing plot, buy Immortal Rising right now. So not only that, but you also get the early bird card, which is the Cory Barton Blue Girl cover as a trading card, and that's on any tier. So not only that, but my prices, the price points that I have on this campaign, I'm doing floppies, and I've got I was trying to go for the $5 floppy kind of idea. So there's a few different perks there where it's just the floppies for like 2 floppies for $10 plus shipping. I don't know anybody else is doing anything like that. So very good price points, crazy art, amazing art. And not only that, but all this stuff is just starting. Like this is just the second campaign. So there will at least be the third one to kind of finish out this character arc. But I'm writing the fourth one right now. I've got Immortal Rising Tales story that has already been written. We've got character designs for it. So, get in, help me out now, buy now, and you'll just be helping me set up this brand, and I'm going to deliver even more cool ass shit. So, help me out and help back Immortal Rising today.
Well said, man. Well, I will. Come on. I'll leave it at that. I'm gonna leave this on screen for everybody to take a screenshot if they want.
Thank you.
Find it. Stuff
yeah,
like
and
that.
check out my my YouTube as well, because I co-host a show on Friday nights. I think we are 10 o'clock Eastern, and it's me. It's a couple of other indie creators. It's Jason Sandberg, who did Jupiter, as well as Craig Wright, who does Soul Tech. We have a guest on every week. We do something different, but the whole point of the show is like we pick out 3 topics. It'll be like 3 articles that are that we can have fun with, make fun of, stuff like that. We have a good time at the beginning of the show. We have a good time at the end of the show, but at the end of the show, we let the guest kind of sell their wares and stuff like that. So. It's a fun time. I've got great co-hosts, and we get a fair amount of eyes on us, and also people who will buy. So, if you are a creator, hit me up. If you are, a buyer, go watch the show. You get to see all kinds of new shit. So, and that's what we need in the indie sphere. A lot of people are all hung up on drama and all this other shit. Well, guess what? That's just that. The rest of us are out here trying to sell. So pay attention. If you're drama, great. Pay attention to the shit that's not drama. We need the eyeballs. We need people buying shit, because that's how we know that you're not just interested in the fucking drama. Give the rest of us an eyeball. Damn it.
Hey, I know a good guest for your show. He has this comic.
Well, no, you were on. You were on before I was a co-host. Yep. Because I suggested it, Yeah, I suggested it. It's the Friday nights. Yeah.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I suggested it to those guys, and they were like, "He was just on," and I hadn't seen that episode yet.
Yeah.
So
he's been booking.
That was a fun one.
Shows all over the place, and I don't know what's what, so it's hard for me to keep.
Totally fun format.
Yeah, it is. They do a good job.
The format's cool, and
do a good job.
It's the show's only going to grow bigger. So
I agree.
But anyways, that's all I got. Bye, book.
Any final thoughts, good?
No, I'm super sorry that I missed way too much of the show. I'm actually a little bit annoyed about it because family just blocking me in, and so I apologize. I really like talking to you, and you're a fun guest, so it's like, come on. But you're welcome anytime.
You are. Yep.
Right on. Cool.
Next issue. Or whenever, honestly, if you do something on the side, or if you just want to come hang out.
By the way, everyone in chat, not to interrupt my husband, our guest had to reschedule our guest for next week. So a week from tonight, we don't have a guest. So if anyone
hit us up.
Yeah, if anyone would like to be on, just message me on X or Andy, but I mean AC.
But yeah,
cool.
dude,
that guy.
It was good having you. And
good talk, dude.
Anybody listening this long, thanks for sticking around. Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Glad everything's going good for you, Aaron.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's good to see. You got 50 backers like nothing.
Alexander,
I love it.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
But anyway, cheers.
Okay.